y'all love me when I can do something for y'all? Then y'all stand in the back.
Ladies, let's get some order, ladies.
Well, it's just
He can pay for it.
him.
He can pay for it, because I'm not. He gonna pay for it.
Hold on.
He's still gonna be in there.
Ms. Williams, you are here today with your two sisters. You say you're tired of being lied to by your mother, Ms. Liddell. Claim she wasn't a good mother and say her promiscuous behavior is the reason you need the results of a paternity test today.
Wow, this is new. 3 daughters versus their mother? But let's see what the mother has to say.
You say your daughters are being unfair. They're still punishing you for the mistakes you've made in the past. You want it to end.
Judge Lauren then turned to the youngest daughter, Lisa Williams, who spoke about the real issue.
Tell me about the paternity issues.
This man who was supposedly had been my father, we were all wanting to know, like his family, my aunt that raised me and Jasmine, we wanted the paternity test. We were all there and ready. She never showed up.
But the mom was soon to interject, and she revealed something big.
There was never a paternity test, so I don't know where to get it from. One thing I tell you about my 3 daughters, they are manipulated. Just like me, they are liars.
The tension soon begins to build as the judge gets down to the real deal.
Family members would say, no, he's not your father. It was a rumor.
Who is that?
James.
The man who's appeared in court today and has been tested.
Yes.
And this is why they started questioning the paternity in the first place.
When I was about 17 years old, me and her had an argument. She said, that's why he's not your father. Trying to hit it at a low point, knowing growing up, that's always been something eating at me, not knowing who my father was. Not knowing who my father was.
Well, each sister had their own version of the story.
He treats me more like a daughter than he treats Lisa, but I feel he treats Jamie more like a daughter than he treats me. His side of the family, they don't exactly welcome me with open arms.
The judge then asked how the doubt cropped up.
All of the above, and also it's a lot of her character traits that put doubts in my head itself, other than the whispers.
Because of the life she was leading.
And now we finally hear Lisa's version of the story.
Me and Jasmine went to go see her father because he was away. That was my first time ever seeing him. That day when I saw him, I'm knowing, like, I don't see me at all.
But there's more to it.
After I had my son was 3 months. We go to the gas station. A man notices my mother, but she does not notice him. He calls out her name. Who are you? He's talking about some, so you don't know who I am. I don't know, you talking about some, yes you do. She's talking about some, oh, Lisa, they're your daddy. How is you not gonna know this is my daddy when you look at him?
The mother then gave a totally different story.
I was never there for them. I give them that. I didn't even love myself, so how could I love them? I think the best thing that I did, they would stay with me, either they'll be separated or away.
She didn't take a chance to try to raise us. I was in 5 different homes, 5.
Oh, that must have been difficult to hear. But things only got heated up further.
I have
One thing I could do for y'all.
You done tried.
No, you didn't. What minute y'all love me when I can do something for y'all? Then y'all stand in the back.
But wait, Mrs. Liddell, the mother, had something to admit.
I'm not for sure if James is their father, if he's not their father. I did me. I ran the streets.
The judge then brings in Mr. James Williams via video conference, and he said this.
Deep in my heart, Your Honor, and I hate to say it, and it's hurting me to say it too. No, I do not.
You don't act like it. He said no. You don't act like it.
Things get quite emotional as the sisters have to face their fears.
This is the man that you were told was your father.
Correct.
Yes.
He doesn't truly believe he's your father.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
And you, in turn, have that same feeling. You've never felt in your heart when you saw this man or this is my real father.
Yes. That's why it hurts so bad. Because he is the only father that I ever knew. Kind of a part of me that don't even want him to be my father because we your little girls. We your daughters. You know what I'm saying? Boys and nothing like that. We already don't got our mother. We don't have our father. Do you know when a little girl don't got her daddy, do you know what goes on in your mind? And do that you shouldn't be doing because you...
This is what love is. This is how a man's supposed to treat you. We never had that.
Things take a turn for the worse when the mother reveals this.
Jamie, because I was a piece of, like, I'm not gonna keep, I didn't care about y'all. I'm keeping it real. Y'all want me to keep it real? Because y'all was in my way of doing what I wanted to do.
She said, I'm not her daughter, she should have aborted.
I sure did.
Imagine hearing that from your own mother. With all stories being untangled, the court finally reveals the truth. First up is Jasmine.
When it comes to Ms. Jasmine Williams, Mr. Williams, you are her father.
Next is Lisa.
Ms. Lisa Williams, Mr. Williams, you are not her father.
And finally, it is Jamie's turn.
When it comes to Ms. Jamie Williams, Mr. Williams, you are not her father.
Thank you, James, for what you did for me. Thank you.
We hope Lisa and Jamie find the closure they deserve.
Ms. Wilson, you believe the defendant, Mr. Phillips, was always unfaithful and still holds a flame for his ex-wife. Yet you claim he is the one who's always accused you of cheating, denied fathering your daughter, Hope.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are requesting the results of a paternity test to prove he is indeed Hope's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
And this is what Mr. Phillip had to say.
You say you believe that Ms. Wilson had sexual relations with a co-worker. He who fathered. You claim the child looks like that co-worker, nothing like you.
So where did the trouble start?
Well, the way we got together, just having sex, and so when you build a relationship like
That's pretty together.
Right, and when
So it started off as a non-committal sexual relationship.
Correct. When you build a relationship like that from the beginning, of course, you're gonna have extreme trust issues.
But wait, there is more to it.
And so 7 years later, we never got over our trust issues. It was you couldn't go to the store without, we couldn't go.
Someone else was
Yes,
having sex or doing
exactly.
something. The relationship started with sex and it ended because of sex.
Yes.
So why was Mr. Phillips doubtful anyway?
We were separated at a point in time. During that point in time, she led me to believe that I was the only man that she was sexually involved with. And she let me know she was doing the clubs and she was dating, but she was not sexually involved with anybody.
Okay.
Well, this just doesn't seem to end.
When one of my friends was inside the club with her, she was making love in the club. She was tongue kissing, she was grappling, you know, to the 10 with a guy. And what made that worse
She was making love in the club.
You know, holding down, I mean, just really improper.
Not true.
So is that true?
No,
Ms.
it's
Wilson?
not true.
Miss Wilson admitted to it all, but she had something more to add.
So you admit something was going on in the club?
Yeah, it was something going on in the club, but it wasn't making love, it was kissing.
With the co-worker in question?
Yes.
All right.
That she introduced me to as a friend. My friend, he's holding my daughter in his arms and approached me and shook my hands as just a basic friend.
It was time for Mr. Phillips to cut in.
I have a son that is Mexican black, and
A
she's
biracial
identical
child.
to my son. They are twins.
You have a child that's biracial.
Yes, I do.
This child resembles your child, so it leads you to believe that this child is as well.
Yes.
That's his imagination.
Let's get into a little bit about the pregnancy now.
I got pregnant, and I told him, of course, that I got pregnant, and I understand. Me and Sam did work together. We stayed in the same apartment complex. I understand, you know, his concern.
Phillips, however, claimed that their escapade backfired.
She knew in my whole delivery that I was a player, that I was living that life when she met me.
How did it backfire for me?
Once we got together, I could never be trusted. She quizzed me,
because
and in her mind,
he was the kind of man that would have, and I forgot what they called it, monogamous, you know, and I wasn't a part of that lifestyle.
The judge then had a pressing question for the two of them.
So at some point, you two made the decision that you wanted to be committed. And then what happened?
I was supposed to move back in with my mother, but my mother knew of his lifestyle. When my mother found out that I would still have something to do with him, she put me out. So when I was telling him that she put me out, he allowed me to come and move in with him. This is where everything gets committed and real.
However, Miss Wilson had only one thing to say.
But I didn't trust him, and then I really didn't trust him, not only because of how we started the relationship. He had recently been separated from his ex-wife. I believed that he was still in love with his ex-wife because we ended up moving from that apartment complex. He had slept with so many women inside the apartment complex. We need to move somewhere else so we can start new.
This was not the end of the story, though. Wait till you hear what she had to add.
When we moved into our new place, it was for a new start. We would leave everything behind. I had my baby probably about 2 months or a month after we moved in, so I didn't really get settled in. And so when I finally got the chance to get settled in, I found naked pictures of the ex-wife.
In the new house?
In the new place, in our closet.
How was she even supposed to trust him then?
I mean, just so much stuff. So I came to him and I asked him, can you get rid of her stuff? He gave it to his mother to put in his mother's garage. Why are you holding on to this woman's stuff?
I had a whole photo album of nude pictures. She chose to pick the one picture of my ex and make that a subject.
Mr. Garcia, the coworker, then entered the court.
She was teaching me.
So your lips were interlocked?
Yeah.
It was more than lips, it was tongue action.
You also admit to going on vacation.
We slept in the same room.
Do you love Miss Wilson?
No, she's a friend.
And this turned out to be a major part of the case.
Do you believe that you're the father of her child?
I am not the father of her child. Diamond is the father of her child.
And that would be Mr. Phillips.
Phillips, yes.
Finally, the court reveals the truth.
Phillips. And whether Mr. Phillips or Mr. Garcia is her father, Mr. Phillips, you are her father.
Ouch, that was painful.
It's the best day of my life.
Mr. Dark, you say defendant is a promiscuous liar who broke your heart 4 years ago, stepping out on your then relationship. You admit to having a one-night stand with her 2 years ago. Furious, Ms. Bailey is now claiming you fathered her 11-month-old son. You say is impossible. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, let's listen to Miss Bailey's version.
You say Mr. Dark is a deadbeat who knows full well he is your son Jameer's father. You claim there is no way anyone but Mr. Dark could have fathered your son. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Let's now take a look back at their history.
Mr. Dark, why would you call Ms. Bailey a promiscuous liar?
Your Honor, I've been knowing Miss Bailey for probably about 7 or 8 years, and she's had a history of things like this.
But how did they get together?
We was in a relationship for about 4 years. Everything was okay, everything was pretty good when I first met her. Some good conversations about establishing us a family, things like that. We lived together at that time. Left to go out of town to do some work. I was working out of town, out of state. I went to Florida to do some work in Florida.
However, when he returned from Florida, things had changed.
But when I come back, she was doing her best friend's hair at the house. So I came in from work, gave her a kiss, whatever. When I left out of the door to go to the store, her best friend came running out of the door to like, hey, Terrence, wait up for a second. I'm gonna go to the store with you. I thought that was kind of strange, like, why is you know? But anyway, we went on to the store. Well, her friend started to tell me a story. She was like, well, I just want to tell you something.
This completely shocked everyone. But what Miss Bailey had to say was even more astonishing.
And I only did it because I thought you was cheating on me.
Okay.
So you admit you cheated on him?
I did.
Okay, and so your best friend told on you?
Yep.
Judge Lauren then asked Mr. Dark what happened after he found out. And this is really devastating.
I tried to work past it, again, because of the things that we had already discussed, trying to work things out, possibly us getting married or whatever the case may be, but I tried to work it past for about approximately a year or so, but I just couldn't take it. I couldn't deal with it no more.
Although they kept seeing each other, something about the timelines did not match.
You kept having sex until
2016.
It was like early March.
You have sex and you didn't use protection?
No.
When was Jameer born?
November 13th.
And you're saying the last time you were really intimate was around in March?
Yes.
The judge then had to do a little bit of math to make sense of it.
If Jameer's birth date is November 13, 2016, then that means the conception window would be February 17th to February 24th, 2016. You said you all weren't intimate until March.
Yes, ma'am. And she had early.
I'm sorry?
And she had
I had him early, like.
Mr. Dark then went on to say this.
No, ma'am, no kind of way.
Because you weren't intimate until at least the second week of March. And
the first week, around the 6th or 7th of March.
With the calculation and the date she's using, Mr. Dark, you're saying this pregnancy would only been 8 months. So you believe she was already pregnant when you all were intimate in March.
She had to be already pregnant.
That must have been so hard to hear. They then get to the birth certificate.
And the reason why I signed the birth certificate, to answer your question, is because that if I didn't sign it right then I wouldn't have another opportunity to sign it.
No, I didn't. You didn't have to sign it. I didn't force you to sign it.
He won't have your last name. You won't get to sign it. Did you not say that?
Okay, but...
Okay, you know you said that.
Miss Bailey then revealed this shocking news to the court.
Yes. You don't understand. I have 3 other kids that I take care of by myself.
Right. And you've had this same problem previously.
But I made sure that I wasn't gonna do it again. Like, I made sure that you was gonna be the only person.
Miss Bailey, have you been in a paternity situation before?
I have, with my ex.
Judge Lauren then asked Miss Bailey an extremely important question.
So, Miss Bailey, I must ask you, who were you intimate with during that time?
No one. I haven't had sex in February.
Was the baby a full-term baby?
Yes, he was.
This is it's almost 3 weeks after.
Yes, I'm sure. I'm very sure.
But how about his relationship with the baby?
I was in Jameer's life. I've been a part of his life. I've taken him with me. I've kept him. I took him to Alabama with me when I went to my granny's funeral. And my whole family said that that's not your child.
It was now time for the results.
In the case of Dark versus Bailey, when it comes to 11-month-old Jameer Dark, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Dark, you are the father.
That was a roller coaster ride.
You are the father.
I told you that he was yours.
Miss Fain, you have opened 2 cases against your estranged husband today. First is to prove that he fathered your 4-year-old son, Antoine Jeter. Second is to prove he fathered your 2-year-old son, Kingston Jeter. You testify that you may not have been a faithful wife, and you are positive he is the father of both children. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Jeter, on the other hand, had this to testify.
Mr. Jeter, you are 100% certain you did not father either of her sons. You say your wife is sneaky and is pinning these babies on you only because you are still legally married. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge Lawrence started by questioning Miss Fain.
Miss Fain, how difficult has it been raising these boys alone?
It's been really difficult. My life's been cut off. My car been taken due to him not helping me watch the kid.
You know that she needs help?
Yes, ma'am.
But you refuse to help.
I just don't want to be that guy taking care of someone else's kids.
Let's see how the meet and greet happened.
We met back in 2010.
You start dating, and then you were in a committed relationship, ended up getting married.
Got married after my daughter was 4 months old.
And then somewhere along the line, paternity questions.
He was looking through my phone, checking my messages, and ended up saying that I was cheating with another guy.
Mr. Jeter then shared his side of the story.
Phone rung, and it said her sister. I know her sister's numbers and had a different number, so I answered the phone. And the guy, whoever it was, they didn't say anything, so I politely handed her the phone. She's always very honest when she gets caught. She went ahead and came clean.
But this is why Miss Fain cheated.
Pretty much, I got married early. I just wasn't interested in Drew anymore, so I started cheating.
But was it the only time? Sadly not.
All right, this was the second time, and the first time is very eerily similar. I answered the phone, and the same thing. I took her the phone and told the truth about it. We had our argument or whatever you want to call it. Then she told the truth.
And there was loads more to come.
So this time she moves out.
Yes, ma'am.
And now you all are separated.
Yes, ma'am.
How soon after that did you find out she was pregnant?
A couple of weeks to a month.
How did the pregnancy turn around?
So take me to that day when you found out she was pregnant.
When she called and told me that, she was pregnant, my only response was DNA test. I don't want to take care of nobody.
We was having sex unprotectedly.
Unprotected. You also had the affair during that time too, right?
Yes.
Mr. Jeter could not stop from adding more.
Well, I had to tell the truth on it. I tried to be there for the pregnancy, go to doctor visits and do whatever I could, but this lady right here, she is very, very sneaky.
When asked about the doctor's appointment, this is what Miss Fain had to say.
I didn't need him to go to the doctor appointments with me.
And why is that if he's the father?
I just was like that. I didn't want him to come, but he is the father of my kid.
And why wouldn't you want him to come and he's the father?
Oh, I just didn't want him to come.
That's when Mr. Jeter's doubts only grew.
But more doubt in my head, the way that she acted around like that, just simple as going to the doctor, she acted like that just put even more doubt in my head.
But was there any relationship with his older son?
Have you developed a relationship with him? Do you have a relationship with him?
No, I really don't have a relationship with him.
He's acting out, he don't listen, he don't have a father figure in his life, and he needs his dad.
This called for an explanation.
Like far as my daughter, he'll come pick her up, he won't get the boy. The boy's asked to go with dad, maybe next time. He don't come back, he don't get them at all.
Mr. Jeter, you leave the boys behind and you come get your daughter?
Yes, I'm not gonna sugar. Yes, I do. I don't want to get that bond with them, and it's not mine. I think that's more devastating.
However, this is not the end of the story. There is a real plot twist coming up.
Miss Fain, you didn't open just one case today, you have two. You also have a son named Kingston.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say that Mr. Jeter, your husband, Kingston's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Kingston is too.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Jeter, you said you all separated 4 years ago, so how could you be a possible father?
Here is what Mr. Jeter had to say.
See, what had happened was...
What had happened was? What had happened?
I was still making those trips up the road. We just gonna tell the truth.
And what Mr. Jeter's girlfriend had to say is gonna blow your mind.
I'm Amanda Askew, and I have been dating the defendant for 4 years.
4 years?
Yes, ma'am.
So when's the first time you heard about him visiting his wife and sleeping with her?
Today. Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Jeter, you had not told your girlfriend that you were still sexually active with your wife?
And want his family back.
The judge then asked Miss Spain a crucial question.
And so, when you found out you were pregnant the second time with Kingston, Miss Spain, did you tell your husband?
Yes, I did call him over the phone and let him know that I was.
Were you sleeping with anybody else at that time?
Yes, I was. That was protected.
After all this, there's one detail that the judge needs to know.
When's the last time you had sex with your husband?
It's been probably a year ago.
Just about a year ago.
Yeah.
So you all were still having sex after Kingston was born?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the results are finally in for their older son.
Spain versus Jeter. When it comes to 4-year-old Antoine Jeter, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Jeter, you are the father.
But that is not all.
In the case of Spain versus Jeter, when it comes to 2-year-old Kingston, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Jeter, you are not the father.
That's really cruel.